Hey everyone, today is going to be part 2 of the Black Sheep redo, if you want to call it. So I'm going to try to document as much as I can about this car, mostly because John is an enormous pain in the ass and he messages pretty much consistently that I need to be producing a video for this car every day, which isn't going to happen, but I mean, I'll give him some. So I guess he thinks that everybody cares about his really crappy content every day. I like to put up useful stuff, educational, and he can't be educational, so he doesn't understand that. So anyway, here's part 2. The first thing we did with this thing is we stripped out all the crap that was over there. That's all gone, right? That's all that stuff's gone. This mess that was over here, mess that was here. Moved his coils from down here. They were down here pointing down. Not an easy place to reach them. Not a very serviceable spot. And I don't like keeping anything down that low, even though it's a race car. If it gets pushed through some puddles, I know they're sealed and whatnot, but you know, I always like to try to keep them up as high as I can with the CDI coils. So anyway, we moved the CDI coils. Plug wires that he had seemed to lay out pretty good when we moved them. I don't know what this is about. He's got the heavy boots, but one of them's red. No idea. I mean, as you can tell, he screwed up, didn't use black fittings. Pretty atypical stuff from John. Anyway, we are starting to do layout on the car. So he had a grommet here where he had EGTs coming through. This is where we're going to put his bulkhead for the engine. Bump start switch here. I don't know what we're going to do with this yet. There's a hole there. I don't know. Whatever. We're probably going to put grommets right here and then matching over there for EGTs and for CDI coils. It'll match on the other side, whatever. So we pulled all this stuff out. Slid his Pro 600 over a little bit, just to give us a little bit cleaner line of sight to this. And we're making a panel. So he had a motion mount holding the ECU down here, like right down here. And yeah, I just had a tetanus shot. Don't worry, guys. I'm not gonna, I won't get sick. We'll be all right. So we're gonna make a panel that's gonna cover this section here. So I'm actually going to get up early in the morning and ride over to Matt's shop, Performance Fab. He's going to make us a panel out of this cardboard cutout. So we've got a Dominator, an injector driver module. This is for our second set of injectors. We've got our EGT controller. So this is for CAN bus based EGTs. This is going to be our starter relay. This is going to be the dump. I'm going to change that label. That's terrible. It's going to be for a trans brake. And then we're going to be putting a leash 6-position Pro 6 relay in here. That's going to power our injectors. We're going to use 2 of these relays to power both sets of the injectors. And then we've got, I don't remember, marker light, headlights, dome light, and I don't know. I don't remember. I have it written down somewhere. Whatever. Doesn't matter. So this is what was usable out of the car. Like this is a new switch. This is what we pulled out of the car. This was usable. Not that the wire and materials and whatnot that were used they were fine. Not that the job, when you got starting digging into it was bad. It's that John got a hold of it. So basically everything he touches, I think, I don't even know how you get it that dirty. Whatever. We're going to reuse some of these connectors. Fun little fact, these connector bodies, a lot of people think that this connector is the expensive part. The body itself is pretty cheap, for the grand scheme of things. It's the contacts that are expensive. So once you crimp one, that's where you're spending the money. Same thing with ECU connectors. So we're going to reuse his 5 that he had, and then add a 6th one in there as a port plug. The last video I made, I talked a lot about this. And I had a long I had a long sit down with myself about this, and John really likes this. He really does. And I mean, obviously you can see why. You know, this is super high quality. This is only the finest. This is Longacre, okay? And he really likes this, and he actually called me after the last video, and he's like, man, I really like that switch panel. Please don't get rid of it. And I was like, man, I really don't like you. But after some thought and listening to him really cry the blues about this switch panel and tell me how much he likes it, I've decided that we're still not going to use it. So, whatever. There it is. It's not going to get used. I have a super duper awesome upgrade for him that I think is just a touch cheesier. So he's going to love it, I'm sure. Anyway, then what we do is when we start on a car like this, or any car, the customer always comes and gives us a checklist of what they want, right? So the customer will tell us, okay, we have EGTs here, we got CDI coils here, we don't have O2 sensors because there's no provisions for them, even though we're going to stub out for them behind the firewall. We got 16 injectors, our oil pressure's back there, map sensor's back there, yada, yada, yada. So we go over all that, and then we say, okay, do we want a front shock travel sensor? John him-hawed about that, and I guess the answer was no, he doesn't want that, so that's fine. No front shock travel sensor. But we need a rear shock travel sensor, and we have let's go around here. Over here, we've got a Davis Technologies VPS. We've got a shift solenoid and a chute release solenoid. He wants to monitor CO2 pressure. So we go over all those things with the customer to make sure that we don't miss anything, that we're not forgetting anything. Because when this thing leaves, certainly this one, not all my customers, and if you're a customer of mine and you're watching this, you know that I'm always readily available for you anytime you need anything. But for him, I really don't want to have to deal with this, you know? So my hope is that we get this all done and he picks it up and then he loses my phone number. Unfortunately, he's bringing me more cars after this. So, but at least maybe I don't have to hear anything about this one, right? It's been going pretty good with the other car, Slick Rick, we did for him. He bothers me now about tuning. I don't know if you guys know this, but he's a master tuner now. Self-proclaimed, of course. He's apparently phenomenal from what he's told me. Others have said otherwise, but apparently he's phenomenal. So anyway, we go through the whole car. We figure out where everything's going to go, and we mount everything, right? So like we know where everything's going to be in place. That stuff was already mounted. This was already mounted. Battery's already there. We're going to change out the contactor he had. These are our contactors that we sell, and it's not like they're proprietary. It's just that these are the ones that we trust. The other contactor that was in here, while may look very similar, kind of similar. This was the contactor that was in the car. It may look similar. This does not have an economizer. So this actually draws a decent bit of amperage when it's on. And since this is and plus if you jiggle it, you can like feel something heavy in there rattling around. Oh, I'll tighten these up. Maybe you can hear it in the video. Here we go. Yeah, there's something in there jiggling around. I don't know if it's supposed to jiggle, but we're just gonna replace it. So, plus this one's black, and well, it's the one that we sell and the one that we use. And there's the economizer built into the back of this one here. This is the one I trust. So we'll mount that. That panel will go in. And then the first step is we're gonna run battery cables. He's already got some bulkheads in the firewall for battery cables. We'll run battery cables, and then we'll start doing layout of everything. So when you wire one of these cars, typically a lot of people want to jump right into like, let's wire up the engine. Don't do that. Wiring up the engine should be last, because in a race car, it's usually the first thing you wind up pulling back out, right? So, and it's the most critical because it's got to run. So we always put the engine harness in the car last. So we, I also found some stuff, and I guess I unfortunately have to talk to John. His oil line down there, the one that goes from the back of the pump to the pan, is resting up against the header, it's hose clamped piece of something. I don't know. It's atrocious. We're gonna replace it, and we're gonna keep it away from the header so it doesn't burn. But anyway, so we do a list and we do a layout, right? So now I'll show you on the computer. There we go. So then what I do is I build his basically his pin map, right? So this is Holley software. You guys should be familiar with this if you're on my channel. What I like to do, J2A is full of inputs, tons of inputs on J2A. And J2B is our injector driver, like so our second set of and third set of, if we needed to, injector drivers are on J2B. So I try to dedicate J2B just for the second set of injectors. I don't like, and then it also gives him the ability to add a whole bunch of outputs if he wants to. This gives him the ability to add a whole bunch of inputs if he wants to. I don't want him cutting into, especially him, I don't want him cutting into anything we've done, right? Because he's not trustworthy to do that. So it's kind of like giving Helen Keller a set of scissors and tell her to run 60 yards. So what we do is we fill up J3 and J4. J3 and J4 have a bunch of outputs and a bunch of inputs on them. So I always like to try to keep J2A open, or open as much as I can, so that the customer, if they want to add anything down the road, it's easiest for them to just unplug that connector, do whatever they want to do, plug in their little sub harness, and we're done. So I build this pin map, then I go through, I create all the inputs, right? I create all the outputs. And I do some stuff, like I'll throw stuff that like on power and ground and whatnot. I usually put that on the second page, just so it's like kind of out of the way. Something that he isn't ever gonna have to mess with. He's gonna wind up playing with this, shoot release and trans brake. We're also gonna be doing rear turn signals and brake lights out of the ECU. We're just gonna be using small LED bulbs, so it won't matter. They don't need a relay. They're in the, maybe 200 milliamp range. So we do that, build a tune-up for it, so program his injectors and whatnot. There should be two, but it doesn't matter because we're not even using them. And this is for the non-faint of heart, okay? So everybody knows this tab. This is the Holley EFI Please Save My Ass tab. Look at that, guys. Closed loop 0, turned off. Learn 0, turned off. So this is for the non-faint of heart. If you're a beginner doing fuel injection, this is probably the last combo that you want to mess with. So John is sure to do a jam up job because he is such a phenomenal self-proclaimed tuner. But anyway, I set all this kind of stuff up, right? Like set up the shift output, set up the dump valve, do all this so that it's all in the pin map and it's all pre-populated. So then I transfer this into Excel spreadsheets so that it's easy for us to wire off of, right? So like here's an Excel spreadsheet. This is from the last car that we just finished. So like we'll take this Excel spreadsheet, we'll write that, I'll punch in all this, what wire color we're gonna use, and where it terminates to. So this, and then we wind up writing lengths in over here. So it just makes life a little bit easier when it comes to wiring the car. So that is the process. What does that say? Oh, we're gonna bead roll. Oh, okay, so Justin wants Matt to bead roll this. What is this? JDLC. I don't know. If you guys know what that means, let me know. I'm sure it means John Doc loves something. I don't know what that C could stand for. But anyway, I guess we're going to get that bead rolled in here real nice and big, right? Maybe we bring it down to Jake Tinsley and have him powder coated 2 different colors so it really stands out, right? But anyway, make this panel tomorrow and we'll get to slinging some wire. And I have a feeling that we're going to be able to wrap this thing up within a week. I'm going to end this video with probably the best thing that's ever come out of John Doc. And that is this Streamlight wedge. It's probably the best thing that he's ever done. He actually gave Justin and I a Streamlight wedge, and this is a really great little flashlight. So anyway, that's really his greatest accomplishment as a human being, I would say. So, all right, Part 3 will be coming up in a couple days after we get some wire slung. See ya.